Hi there, my name is Steve Beck, and the Rabbi from Another Planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop. And I've been watching Watchmen. I've watched the second episode of Watchmen, and I've had a few interesting thoughts about it. Where to start? Firstly, Watchmen. If you like Watchmen or you hate Watchmen, I'm going to talk about the HBO series. If you're liking it or hating it, I think that's almost entirely based on your expectation of the show and what you think the show is, rather than what the show has been thus far. Your expectations may be 100% correct. The expectations is it's woke garbage, right? So because they have Regina King as a main character, this like aging African American female superhero who can somehow beat the crap out of like people much younger and much bigger than her somehow. And if you think, and it could well be woke garbage. My final thesis will be it's partially woke garbage. It's partially brilliant as well, which is the thing that's kind of maddening about it. But again, so if you are an SJW, if you're a progressive, I can't imagine you're watching this. You may be watching this to scream at me. But if you are one of those awful, awful, awful people who are destroying our culture, if you're one of those people, you're gonna love you're gonna love Watchmen. You're gonna love it unreservedly, and you're gonna just say how fantastic it is. And I think that more than anything else has created the very, very, very strong reaction against it, which is sheer hatred, sheer utter bile and hatred towards it. So I'm somewhere in the middle. I try to watch it objectively. So my review of episode 1, I said it seems like it's interesting. Okay. The two main problems are that it's you have like this protagonist who clearly couldn't beat up anybody who's like, okay, fine. If I could get over the Yvonne Craig Batgirl being able to beat people or Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow, if I can accept that, I can accept this. The only difference is, in those cases, you traded off and you gave me a very attractive woman wearing spandex that I could look at without, feeling any form of embarrassment. Whereas here you come. But fine, I bought that. And what's the other criticism? They're setting up lots of questions and they're not going to pay off. So I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they are going to pay off, and I think so because I think Lindelof is actually a good writer. I think again, that's just my opinion. I think Lost was kind of set up by J.J. Abrams, who is pretty good at setting up mysteries. He puts through all the pieces up, and it was Lindelof that caught them and wove them into a narrative. You may not like that narrative, but it was still a cohesive narrative that held together. Same thing with The Leftovers. I think the writer of the book that was based on loved it. He said it was a very faithful adaptation. And indeed, the writer was involved in the production of it and in the second season and where it ultimately went. And honestly, I think Leftovers is a fantastic show. I really, really enjoyed it, apart from the last episode, which I thought was disappointingly weak. But I've spoken about that in my last review of episode 1. But so we have this is really all about Damon Lindelof. You have, I think, a guy who is a pretty talented writer, dripping with white middle class guilt. And it's the most interesting thing about it is it's a show about racism, as that's what Lindelof has said. It's a show dealing with he says white supremacy, which he thinks is the greatest issue facing the world today. And it was only a couple of weeks ago I saw, what's her name, Candace Owens. She's an African American woman who's a very big advocate for African American rights, for the African American community. She's a big advocate, and she's very, very conservative. And she torched this person in Congress in this congressional hearing, who was talking about how important white supremacy is and how big it is. And she said, if you made a list of the 100 most important things facing the African American community, white supremacy wouldn't even be on that top 100, which was a surprise to me. But okay, that's what she says. That's what she says. But the show is written dripping with white upper middle class guilt. Well, it should be upper class. It's rich enough. So you have this, and by doing that, it actually is a show about racism because it's racist against people who are dark skinned because it portrays them as like this very white view of the African American community. Like they're all very hi, Shannon, everyone's got this little drawl, and they're all kind of like and they're not real people. They're not real people. And then you got all this racism from the whites, which doesn't happen. Like in the second episode, you saw this white guy on a horse spitting on the black guy in World War One or World War Two. Yeah, and the premise that the America is a intrinsically racist society, I just reject completely. That's nonsense, utter nonsense. Perhaps the least racist society, least racist world empire in the history of our species. So I think that whole premise is just nonsense. So, but then you have like this insane bonkers stuff with Ozymandias somewhere with his clones he's made or whatever they are, and what's going on there, and you get the occasional. We got a glimpse of Hooded Justice, and that was fun. That was fun to watch. However, I think the problem of it is the difference between Watchmen, the comic book series written by Alan Moore, and this show is Alan Moore. He grew up with a love of superheroes. He grew up with a love of comic books, and that love shines through, even when he's making the superheroes flawed and when three-dimensional, and people that he wouldn't particularly want to hang out with. It's still got a love of the superhero genre and an idea of what heroism is. His superheroes in Watchmen were, while they were flawed and human, were also heroic. So this scene we had of Hooded Justice saving this was it grocery store from being robbed in the 30s, 20s, 30s was just insanely violent, and it wasn't heroic at all. So, but it was fun to watch. But yeah, I just don't think he understands what heroism is. There's actually a big problem in writing. In writing in general, I think today people don't understand what heroism is. So here's what I think is going on with Ozymandias. Dr. Manhattan said at the end of Watchmen he's going to go off to another universe and make some life. I think the most likely thing is that Ozymandias is the life that he created. And Ozymandias, because he was working on this thing called the Watchmaker's Son. So I think that's him. He's the Watchmaker's son. And I think he in turn has started to make life. And I think all that's happening maybe on Mars. Yeah, I don't think it's like a artificial place that's all taken care of. But again, that bit is both bonkers and really, really interesting. I think Jeremy Irons is perfect for that. The actual central mystery, quite interesting. I mean, it's just this nonsense white middle class guilt running through it. America is not a racist country. It's not a country full of race. Who was that? I was listening to your boy Zach's review, which I really shouldn't do because that really prejudiced my view. I want to give it to but he said he came up with a thing saying there are probably more one-legged piano players. One-legged pianists in America than there are white supremacists, and it's probably true. There was like what 10,000, 5. It's like a ridiculously low number. It had no oxygen at all. And then, like 5 years ago, in 2015, 2014, white supremacists, nobody talked about Nazis and white supremacists. It's these SJWs. They just gave them oxygen, gave them what they already wanted, which was relevancy. So in conclusion, Watchmen is indeed a show about racism. It's about the racism of liberal white Americans who look down at black people and think they can't support themselves and think they're this, and they have to portray them as this fictionalized version instead of having like three-dimensional people. And it's more racism from liberal white people who think that anybody who doesn't share their values is a Nazi. And it's quite interesting because it's not the racism they think it's about. Yeah, with bits of brilliance thrown in, and look, I'm going to keep on reviewing it. I'm paid for HBO for the month, but I'm going to keep on reviewing it. I just think it's going to be this is going to be a great example of how the times we live in has ruined culture. We'll be able. This will be a great thesis to write about. Central thing, a thesis to write about media observation or whatever it's called in about 20 years from now. My name is Phelan Beck, the Rabbit from Another Planet. Please like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop. Please do let me know what you think. Have a good day.